no sabes de mí y no te puedo mentir lo que dicen en la calle sobre mí y no te voy a negar. Estamos claros y ya. No te lo voy a negar.
Have you ever thought about upcycling your old pyjamas instead of throwing them out? I didn't think so either. But I've given you the idea now, so why not watch just to see how you can do it. So in this video, I'm going to talk you through how I converted my satin PJs into a cute little summer co-ord. I'd originally bought my pyjamas from Boohoo for about £14 for one of my friends' matching PJs party. And although they're the only pyjamas that I own which are still a matching set, I've always wanted to experiment upcycling my clothes, and I feel like this is a good piece to start with. So let's go!
I started off by making the skirt because, well, that's the easiest bit and shouldn't take as long. To make the skirt, you have to take 3 measurements: around your waist, around your hips, and your desired length. But if you're anything like me, then just 2 measurements, seeing as the hip and my waist are basically the same size. I then aligned newspaper as pattern paper to make a skirt pattern, which I scrapped anyway because I didn't have as much material on the trousers as I thought. I originally wanted to have a skirt that was tight around the hips and comes out a lot below the bum. So to do this, you draw a horizontal line, the length of your hip measurement, followed by 2 vertical lines either side about 12 inches long, but the bigger the bum, the longer those lines will need to be. You then draw 2 diagonal lines coming off it until you reach your desired length for your skirt. Mine was about 30 inches. I then cut my pattern out and I further cut across it diagonally because I wanted a diagonal seam, but you don't have to do this. It just helps with fitting the pattern onto the material. Anyway, you end up with something that looks a little bit like this.
So I'm about to cut up my PJs and I'm a little bit apprehensive just because it can either go really well or I can end up ruining it, and then I've just wasted a pair of PJs that were actually quite nice to start with, but we've just got to see what happens.
So after making the patterns, I began to unstitch the trousers. I decided to unstitch rather than just cut them up so that I didn't waste any material, but be warned, it takes forever.
1 hour later.
So I've been doing this now close to an hour, and it's really given me the opportunity to think, are aliens real? If they are real, why haven't we seen them? If they're not real, like there's been no confirmation to say that they're not real.
I then pinned the pattern piece onto the material, but due to the lack of material that I was presented with, I had to alter the pattern a lot so that the skirt just ended up being tight on the bum and drops down like a regular A-line skirt. Once I had cut up the required material, I ended up with 4 pieces that I needed to match in order to have 2 pieces, which would have been the front and back panels. To do this, I pinned the fabrics right side together, then sewed along the diagonal line using a straight stitch. I would like to add, before sewing, test out your sewing machine on a scrap piece of material for an appropriate stitch length that would work on this material. For me, it was a stitch length of 3. Okay, so this is what the 2 panels look like. It's a little bit shabby now, but when I sew them together, it will look better. You can see 3 diagonal seams. The middle one is the one that you just saw me sew. The other 2 were already seams on the original trousers, but I like how it's come out.
Could we be the aliens? Maybe we're the aliens, and the things that we think are aliens are actually the humans, and they think we're aliens. Whoa.
To sew the panels together, make sure you pin it so that the right sides are facing each other, and again, all it needs is a straight stitch on either side. To do the waistband, I used the elastic that was already on the pyjama trousers. The trousers were a bit big for me to start off with, so I cut the elastic a length a little shorter than my waist measurement, so that when it stretched out, it was fairly tight fitted on my waist. Then turn the skirt inside out and fold over the top of the skirt so that the thickness of the fold is only very slightly bigger than the thickness of the elastic waistband, so that it can fit in with ease. Cut a slit in the fold, as this is where you'll be inserting the elastic, and then sew down the fold as close to the raw edges as possible, but still allowing for enough space for the edges to be overlocked. Placing the elastic is a bit fiddly, but can be done by attaching it to a safety pin and using the safety pin to guide and feed the elastic band through. Finally, with the skirt still inside out, hem the bottom of the skirt and overlock any raw edges. Now for the top. I had a rough idea of what I wanted the top to look like, but I kind of wung it still. Wung? Winged? Wung. Anyway, I drew the McDonald's M arches on the front because that's how I wanted the outline of the top to be like. I then cut that away, and for the sleeves, I cut away just halfway down so that it was still attached to the bodice of the top. And finally, for the back, I cut a straight line, trying to make it as level as possible without actually measuring it because accuracy is not my strong point.
Is daydreaming really daydreaming when you're consciously thinking about what you're thinking about and not listening?
After cutting out my basic shape, I had no plan whatsoever for the making of this top. Or did I? And I'm just acting for the camera. Nah, I'm joking. I genuinely had no plan. I couldn't decide whether to make it a tie-up or fitted top. I didn't know whether I wanted long or short sleeves, etc, etc. But I did know that to make the sleeves stay on my shoulders, I needed to add elastic to it, and so I proceeded to do exactly that to the top of the sleeves, the exact same way I did it for the skirt waistband. Because the top of the sleeve is curved, hemming it for the elastic can be quite difficult. To do this, I drew out the outline of the shoulder bit onto scrap material and made it into a 2D shape that looked a bit like the NHS rainbow, without the colours. So basically it was just a curve. But I made sure that the thickness of the curve is bigger than the thickness of the elastic that we're going to insert. Align the curve shape thing to the right side of the sleeve at the top and sew close to the edge. Fold it over, then sew and place the elastic in so that you have something that looks a bit like this. After adding the elastic to the shoulders, I tried on the top so that I could decide what to do next. I knew I wanted the top cropped so that it could match the skirt I made. After much deliberation, staring at the camera and asking all my friends, I decided to go short sleeves and a fitted bodice rather than a tie-up.
When it's conscious thinking about what you want to think. Oh, I'm confused.
So I cut up the sleeves to the length that I wanted it and added elastic to the bottom so that it was fitted around my non-existent biceps.
So I finished one sleeve here and I really like this sleeve style, but the only problem is I did the elastic too small, so it's kind of tight around my arms and my veins are close to popping out. But yeah, I'll just get a longer piece of elastic and I'll reinsert it and hopefully it'll fit better, and then I can do this sleeve as well.
I then wanted to add elastic to the McDonald's sign curves at the front, as beautifully demonstrated by myself. Looking at it now, I don't know why I described it as a McDonald's sign. It looks nothing like it. It's more like two pizza crust curves. Anyway, I hemmed and added elastic once again, which I'm sure I don't need to go over how to do. For clarification, please visit previous parts of this video.
Guys, I just saw this bug in my room and I think I'm just going to move out now. I think it's about time that I just pack up my stuff and leave. Like, what do I even do with that? Do I kill it? If I kill it, is more stuff going to come out of it? I'm genuinely so scared. So I've added the gathering at the front and now I've just got the back to do. And I've tried it on with the skirt and I really like it. The only problem is that the button and the black strip at the front makes it still look a bit like a pyjama. So I'm thinking of making it back to front, and I'm going to put this as the back and have this as the front if it works and this isn't too low cut. And then we'll tighten the top by adding a few darts and hopefully it will look less like a pyjama, more like a crop top to go with the matching skirt. What? Is daydreaming really dreaming? When it's conscious? Why can't I say the word?
After adding elastic to the back piece, I could see it would work if I made that bit the front and the buttons go at the back. Now all that is left to do is to add the darts to make the top more fitted. I placed the top onto the mannequin and pinned down the side seams of the top so that it wouldn't keep moving. If you're following this tutorial literally step by step, don't do this because after pinning I realised I should have made the top inside out first. So let's start again. Make the top inside out, then put it onto the mannequin and pin the side seams down. Then place pins down the middle so that you can place darts equidistant from the centre line you've just created. For those of you who don't know what darts are, Wikipedia defines it as folds or tucks coming to a point and sewn into fabric to take in ease and provide shape to a garment, especially for a woman's bust. They are used frequently in all sorts of clothing to tailor the garment to the wearer's shape. To make these darts, just pull on the excess material and pin together, making sure it's kind of symmetrical on both sides. Sew the darts using a straight stitch and then do the same again for the back.
So I've just finished pinning the darts to the back, and not gonna lie, it's not that neat, but my dad just called me to go back inside the house because my mum's come home with McDonald's and I'm super excited.
It had been 12 weeks without McDonald's and I can honestly say that was one of the greatest meals I had experienced. Anyway, after sewing the darts, this is what the top looks like, a lot more fitted and a lot nicer. All that is left to do is to fold in the top to make it cropped and hem to the desired length.
I don't think daydreaming is a thing. I think it's just a matter of people not concentrating in their lesson or their meeting and thinking about other things. Whereas dreaming at night is an unconscious, involuntary activity, right? So I just finished hemming the top and I cut away the excess material so that I've got a crop top now. I didn't want to make it too cropped just so that I can maybe wear it in the winter with high-waisted jeans and a cardigan because I feel like that would be a nice look too. And I tried it on with the skirt, so I really like the co-ord. I'm just thinking maybe I'm gonna cut a slit on one side of the skirt, maybe unstitch the seams and re-hem it so that I can get a slit on one side and it'll just make that co-ord a little bit nicer as well. So I'm gonna go do that now.
You don't have to do the step if you don't want to, I just always love a cheeky slit. I started off by unstitching the seams but decided I wasn't about to waste another couple of hours, so I just cut out a triangle and then hemmed it. And voila, that's the co-ord done, 1.5 days, a lot of contemplating, beetle killing and a McDonald's dinner later.
Deja que el beat siga rompiendo. Chill.
So that's the end of the video. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I hope I've inspired you all to start cutting up your PJs at some point. Once again, if you like what you saw, give it a thumbs up. If you don't like what you saw, give it a thumbs up anyway, just for the moral support. And don't forget to subscribe and comment down below. I would love to hear what you want to see next. And follow me on Instagram at MadeByMira. And if you haven't already, go ahead and click on this link after my Man vs Beast sketch in order to see how I made my red dress for my friend's wedding. Thanks for watching!
I'm scared to kill it because if it runs, it runs.
You scared me.
I don't want to let go of the shoe. It's still moving!
Oh my god! Oh my god, this is so scary, man.
No.
He's still alive.
It's still moving, it's still moving.